you take the dog to the vet. What does the vet tell you?
The vet tells me that...
oh, by the way, wait, back it up. Before the vet tells you anything, what do you tell the vet?
I told the vet that I had found her that way from a situation that the sitter said she had gotten out. I have lied for Mr. Carter.
Why?
I will say, Your Honor, I was poor decision-making all around. I really felt like...
So you protected him and lied to the vet and said, I don't know what happened to her.
This is the plaintiff, Taryn Wilcher. She says she dated the defendant, and the guy kicked her dog out of anger, and she slid into a cabinet and got severely injured. The coward then took off and moved back to Oklahoma, and he refuses to pay for the vet bills. He also slandered her on social media, and she's here seeking the $5,000 she's most definitely owed. This is the defendant, Charles Carter. He says the dog snapped at his foot, so he grabbed her by the scruff of her neck and slid her across the floor into a kitchen cabinet. He admits he may have used too much force. The plaintiff kicked him out, and the vet bill was paid for with their joint account, so he owes nothing. He's accused of losing it.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Millian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Millian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Ms. Wilcher, you are suing Mr. Carter for $5,000 in vet bills. Tell me what happened.
Yes, Your Honor, I was out of town for a business trip, and I got home on the 23rd. It was a Sunday.
Were you living with him at the time?
Yes, he was staying at my house.
All right, so go on.
So I got home on a Sunday to the dog being injured. I didn't know how severe the injuries were. He didn't make that clear.
Well, what had happened?
That day that we have two dogs, Diego and Liney, and Diego came to greet me, and I went to greet Liney, and he told me that, oh, she's not gonna come out. She got in trouble. She peed on the carpet, and he told me that he kicked her and that he threw her into the kitchen. And I was like, okay. Immediately I was like, that's kind of extra. But I kind of just left. Yeah.
It's criminal, and it's something to be arrested for. Cruelty to animals.
That's very true. And my mom
But you didn't
made that
call the
very
police,
clear to
did
me.
you?
No, I did not.
Right. What'd you do?
I didn't know how severe her injuries were until the next day when he had left.
Well, what
for
happened
work.
that now? I want to know what you tell the man who tells you that I kicked her and then threw her into the kitchen. I want to know what you tell him.
I did say that seems a bit, excessive. That seems extra. But I didn't know she was unable to walk. And
well, what was she doing? What was Lainey doing? What's the name of your dog?
Liney.
What was Liney doing?
She was in the cage, and she normally is in the cage because, well, she was in her carrier at the time. Now she's in a different cage, but she normally is in there because she's not house trained, and she's really kind of difficult to deal with as far as her potty training goes. So she's normally in there. So I kind of
just all day long and all night long. She's normally in there.
No, she gets let outside. They go outside. Sometimes I will let her out, and she'll.
You take her to the vet when?
That Monday following day on the 24th.
Why didn't you take Liney to the vet, to an emergency vet?
Yeah, I would have loved to do that, and I would have loved to have done that, and that was my mom's concern as well. I did not know how bad her injuries were. I didn't know she was injured. The way he had put it was kind of
He told you that he threw her in a kitchen and kicked her. And your dog is how many pounds?
7.6 pounds.
What did you do, Mr. Carter?
Honestly, what happened was the dog peed on the dog peed on the rug. It was the morning that she was getting back from Florida, and what had happened was I just woke up. I was asleep on the couch, and the dogs were literally asleep right next to me on the couch, right on the floor. So when I woke up, I greeted them like, "Hey, you guys ready to go outside?" Both of the dogs, doing circles, and Liney, she was squatting. I thought she was sitting, and then when she moved, I realized that she had urinated. So when I got up, I was like, "Really?" So then basically my foot, I scooted her like this off of the rug. I just did like this, and then she ran to like by the front door. So then when I got up to get her, she kind of snapped a little bit because she was rolling over on her back, kind of like with her paws up, her limbs up. So I put my foot just to stop her from, because she was still urinating. So I kind of put my foot.
I'm sorry, how
to
is she
stop her.
urinating if she's lying on her back in the submissive position?
Well, she was still urinating. She literally was still urinating.
She's so
And I
afraid
was
of you that she's on her back in the submissive position. Do you think she can control that she's still urinating? What did you do? What did you do? What did you do?
So, what happened was she kind of like bit at my foot. So what I did was I reached down and
Well,
grabbed
she
her.
bit at your foot because your foot was doing what?
Well, I was
Stepping
keeping
on her?
her from. No, I wasn't like putting pressure on her just to keep her from moving. It was some pressure, but it wasn't pressure to like, like kick her. I didn't like kick her. I was just kind of stopping her because she would run. She was, kind of running, like run around the house sometimes. But what I did was to prevent that was to kind of like stop her with my foot. Like,
And so
kinda
she
like
bit you because you're stepping on her.
No, it wasn't like, it was just to stop her, kind of like how
Yeah, and what did she do?
she kind of, like I said, she kind of rolled over on her back, and then she was still urinating. So what I did was when I reached down to grab her, and I was just going to scoot her out the way, and I kind of did like a bowling ball kind of motion, and my finger, her hair, like she's pretty fluffy. So what I did, I just kind of was like scooting her out the way, and it was like a bowling ball kind of motion. And then when I swung, and at that time I realized that I had used too much force.
What
and
the
she
hell is
slid into
wrong with you? Are you listening to yourself? She's a 7-pound dog. And you're literally physically abusing her because she peed. Instead of lifting her and putting her outside and using treats and doing whatever and going through the hard work of potty training the dog, you literally first kick her, then you put your foot on her, then you whack her like a bowling ball, and you're telling me this story like it's nothing. Is this what you're used to? Is this how you treat animals? Do you have children, Mr. Carter?
I have a son.
Is this how you treat your son?
No,
How old's your son?
he's 12.
I'm in shock. So you don't go to a vet. He tells you this because he talks about it like it's nothing. He tells you this, and you feel sorry for Mr. Carter, don't you, Ms. Wilcher?
No, to be completely honest with you.
Be completely honest, because when he tells you in your complaint, you say, he told me he was going to do better and he felt really bad when he did it and he was crying and he says he apologized to Liney. That's what you say. And then you don't take the dog to the emergency vet because that might cost too much, right? So you wait until Monday to take the dog.
No, absolutely not. That's not the truth, because that Sunday I did not know that she was
you take
injured.
you take the dog to the vet on Monday. At what time?
I would say probably we left around probably 11 or 10, between 10 and 11, me and my mother and my little brother.
Okay, and so when did you confess to your mother what had happened?
When I found out the severity, because when he...
So you didn't tell your mother what happened on Sunday night?
No, because...
So on Monday at 11 o'clock, you, your mother, and your brother take the dog to the vet. And why all of a sudden now are you concerned? I mean, the guy's told you that he kicked her and that he bowling balled her into the kitchen cabinets, right? You know that.
I didn't get that same confession until Monday, when I found out how severe her injuries were on Sunday.
Well, what did he tell you on Sunday, Ms. Wilcher?
I got like this, like, oh, I kicked at her and I slid her into the kitchen, and she hit she hit
And
the
then the
cabinet.
dog is doing what? The dog isn't moving.
And he
And
told
the
he did
dog isn't
not,
moving. The dog is in the cage and
and
not
he
moving.
I
Well,
did
no,
not
if you
get
hear
that
the dog
story
has been
until
abused,
Monday.
one would think you would take the dog out to see what the injuries are, right?
I definitely agree with you, and I definitely agree my decision making could have been a lot better.
Oh, you think?
You know,
So
yes,
now it's
I
Monday. You
definitely
take the
agree.
dog to the vet. What does the vet tell you?
The vet tells me that
Oh, by the way,
she
wait, back it up. Before the vet tells you anything, what do you tell the vet?
I told the vet that I had found her that way from a situation that the sitter said she had gotten out. I have lied for Mr. Carter.
Why?
I really, I will say, Your Honor, I was poor decision making all around. I really felt
So
like
you
at this
protected
point,
him and lied to
yeah,
the vet and said, I don't know what happened to her. Instead of giving the vet the full facts that might allow the vet to actually serve her interests, Liney's interests. So you tell the
I
vet, I
agree.
don't know what happened. Here she is. She's broken. And then what does the vet tell you is wrong with Liney?
A disc had been inflamed and was touching another disc, and that she potentially would never walk again. I told him on my way home that I definitely needed to have a conversation with him, because at that point I really did have an outside opinion, which was my mother, and she had the same reaction as you. And I definitely agree that my concern should have been primarily my dog's interest and not at all this man. And I still didn't go through with making the right choice until my mother did speak more sense into me, and I did follow up and
So tell me
get
what
her on
happens
to.
that afternoon. He calls you and he tells you, by the way, is he at work with your truck?
Yes.
Okay. It's the day you come back from the doctor who says that there's a bulging and slip disc, and in fact, the doctor tells you that you should have an MRI done of the dog, a
Yeah.
neurological exam and an MRI scan. But that's $2,500. So you tell the doctor, I can't afford it, and then you bring the dog home. And then you talk to him, and what does he tell you?
Yeah, I bring her home with her medications, and I tell him, that this was going to need to be like a serious change. And he did tell me he was apologetic, which, yeah, like, but that he would do all that he could to help get that money situated and, repent and make up for what had happened.
Okay.
And I bought into that, I guess.
Okay.
And after work, he tells me he's going to go hang out with his coworkers, and I just like wasn't standing for it. And so I went and got my truck.
So wait, so he was going to leave you nursing Liney while he went out with his coworkers.
Yes.
And you told him what?
I was like, well, then I guess I was like, not in my truck. Like, I guess you can bring my truck home and find a way to do that.
And he said,
He said, he was like, I'm not asking. So I, I went and got my truck and told him.
he said, I'm not asking?
Yeah.
Okay. And he tells you this isn't a big deal, right?
Yeah. And I'm like explaining to him, like, that's like, we just talked about this yesterday. We were going to like do what we can to take care of this dog. She has 3 different medications. Like, you could help me with that. I have to carry her outside,
Because
like
she can't
all
walk.
Because she can't
But
walk.
he says it's not a big deal, right?
He's like, no, it's like fine. I'm just going to hang out. And
I got news for you, Mr. Carter. It's a big deal. So explain to me how you injure this dog who now requires 24/7 care, and then you tell her you're going out with your friends in her truck and you're not asking and it's not a big deal. Tell me all about it.
Well, the situation about the truck that led up, it wasn't about the dog. What the situation was about. And when,
Do you hear
I
me?
had a
I'm asking you
conversation-
how you think it's appropriate to leave her without a car while you go out with friends and she's got to use a sling to take the dog that you battered outside to. You don't think that's a big deal?
Well, I'm not saying that it's not.
Well, you did
because
tell her it's not a big deal. That's exactly what you said to her.
that's not true. Because the conversation that we had was not about Liney. The conversation that we had was about me telling her I was letting her know. I was like, hey, after work I'm gonna go hang out with the guys for a couple hours and I'll be home, because what we had discussed was about our business. So it was nothing about the dog. The situation with the dog, we had already discussed. And
So you
the
don't
only
think you
thing that
need to be home to help nurse the dog?
no, I did,
So
and
what'd
that's
you
the
do
part
to
she's
get your
not telling.
truck, Ms. Wilcher? Tell me what you did.
I called the two most reliable people in my life, my mom and my dad, and they drove me up there to get my truck. And my mom told him she was going to make a police report, and that's why I think he never came home after that. He left all of his stuff here and
Well,
he
that and
fled
your
back
mother
to
told him, don't
Oklahoma.
you dare go back to that place, right?
Kind of, like, she didn't necessarily say that, like that. She just told him, like, look, you have two options. She was like, you can give her her truck, or either way, you can give her a truck, but I am making a police report.
About the
So,
truck?
about the dog.
About the dog. So did your mother ever
My mom,
make the police report?
we're working on it. Our
No,
police
then the
department
answer
is
is no, you didn't. So then
yeah.
what happens? He doesn't come home, but you expect him to come home?
In a way, I kind of, part of me knew he might not. Part of me was like, if he didn't just come home and
So
do
what
the
did he
things
do?
with the
Leave
dog in the
everything
first place,
behind?
he left everything.
And then
Yeah,
what did he do?
everything.
He took off to Oklahoma?
He bought a bus ticket to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
How do you know?
His account and everything is open on my computer downstairs.
And so
So
you look at it to see where he gets and what he does?
I did check it out to see.
Have you talked to him since all of this happened?
That yes, we did talk on the phone with a brother from a congregation. He orchestrated a call between us, and we
Okay.
did talk. But other than that, he said that I blocked his number and blocked him on everything, and he said he tried to reach out to me, but he never did, other than to ask me for a picture of his social security card that he left.
And you sent that to him?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Ms. Wilcher, I see the $600 for the vet. You are suing for $500 for medications. Tell me about that.
Yes, so the medications, the initial bill was $597, and I do need to re-up on her medications, which I think will probably
But do you have
be...
any? No, I need to have some evidence of that.
Okay, I didn't submit that, so...
All right.
Yeah.
You're suing for the amount for an MRI. How is the dog doing now?
She's actually, thank God, a lot better. She still doesn't walk properly, but she is getting around a lot better.
And you're suing for future surgery, but you don't have any indication of what that would be and if it's even necessary. That's because you haven't done the MRI and nobody's told you surgery is going to happen.
Well,
And
it's actually
where do you get the figure 1,200?
That's in the report that the vet has. It says that the MRI will cost $2,500.
That I see.
And I'm not exactly sure what line it is, but it does say that.
It does say what? That surgery's 1,200?
No, it just says that she most likely will end up needing surgery.
But where do you get your figures? Because you haven't taken the dog to an MRI and you haven't, so you don't know if this stuff, we know the MRI is necessary because this vet said this dog should really have an MRI, but we don't know if surgery is necessary because the MRI hasn't happened yet, right?
Okay.
And then the doggy diapers, $200. Do you have receipts for doggy diapers?
That would be something I would have to get from my mom, and I'm not sure if she has that available, so I wouldn't be able to get
Okay. Mr. Carter, why did you leave to Oklahoma? To get out of the jurisdiction because mom said she was filing a police report?
That wasn't, it had some part reason why, because, Taryn and I, we purchased a house together. And when she said that, then she also said, well, now I'm stepping in and, your relationship is done.
Mom said
and
that.
And she's like, the mother said that. And she's like, oh, well, I gave you this much time to take care of my daughter, all this. Now I'm stepping in. And I'm looking at her like, we could have talked about this.
We who?
Regardless of Taryn and
You
and
did
myself.
talk about it with her. You decided to go to happy hour with your friends in her truck instead of coming home and taking care of the dog. You did talk about it. It didn't go so well. That's why she went to pick up her, and you weren't asking either. And that's why she got her parents involved and got the self-respect to get her truck back from you. So you leave
Well,
town, and by the way, have you paid a penny towards the care of this dog?
well, the $600 was a cash savings that we both contributed to,
How much did you
and
contribute, and how much did she
that was the
contribute?
bet. I can't give an exact number.
Would
I
you
mean, it
evenly
was
contribute to that account, Ms. Wiltshire?
I would say I contributed far more to that account than Mr. Carter did.
But it was a joint
So
account in both your names?
it was literally a little treasure box that I put money into.
Oh, you literally mean a box.
Yes, a little box that I put physical cash into.
Okay, and would he ever put cash into it?
Hardly.
How much money did he put into it, and how much money did you put into it?
I would say percentage-wise,
Yeah.
I would probably put 90, if not more.
Mr. Carter, can I
But
ask you a
10%.
question? Have you learned anything? Because you're snickering when
yeah. I have learned. I have learned.
What did you learn?
I've learned to basically control my physical reactions to things. I've learned how to maybe in the situations where it may not be the best outcome to deal with it better than you know what I have.
How
and in no
long
way,
were
shape,
you
or
with
form
him,
I'm
Miss
saying I'm-
Wiltshire?
We were together for about 2.5 years.
Did he ever strike you?
No.
Did he ever lose his temper?
Yes.
Well, I don't mean just yell, though. I mean, did he ever hit anything, hit you, damage anything, strike out in any way?
In small ways.
What are
But
small
it was never
ways?
anything. He might like slap a wall or something.
Okay.
So that was about it.
Okie dokie. I have proof by way of the veterinary reports that $600 was expended on the dog. I also have proof that the veterinarian is recommending an MRI. I am ordering you, Mr. Carter. Those are the things I have proof of. The things I don't have proof of, try as I may want to award you. I don't award things without proof. So I am ordering you, Mr. Carter, to pay the plaintiff $3,100, the $600 plus the MRI for the dog. Ms. Wiltshire, I asked Mr. Carter if he learned something. Have you learned anything?
Yes, I have.
What have you learned?
I learned that I definitely have to look at the bigger picture and step outside of myself. And I can't stand up for somebody when they are in the wrong and not willing to take responsibility themselves for what they've done.
I hope that you treat not just yourself, but those that are depending on you, whether they are pets or children, with a little more respect.
Yes, Your Honor.
Verdicts for the plaintiff, $3,100.
Mr. Carter, that's $3,100 she's ordered you to pay. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, in the end, like I said, I admitted to my fault. I even talked to her and told her that that's what I would do, and we were going to do that together. It's just a unfortunate situation where we had to separate. Like I said, I still have love for her and her family, and the judge ruled and judged correctly.
Well, the judge has ruled, and there are dog owners all across the country very angry at you for what they have heard. I hope you won't take your anger out on a puppy dog in the future, that you've learned something from that. You think you have?
Definitely, I have. I definitely have.
And do you think it's all over between the two of you?
I can't say. I mean, from the looks of it, I don't know.
Kind of looks like it.
Couldn't tell you.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. $3,100. That's the judgment against you, Ms. Wiltshire. How do you feel about the outcome? $3,100. You okay with that? It's a help, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely being away from that kind of spirit has allowed me a certain kind of peace. But also my dog, she's doing a lot better. She runs and chases the other dog slowly, but I'm thankful and calm because she's unbothered by the situation. So I'm happy with the outcome, so I can hopefully get her back to full speed.
The big question is, will you use that money to get the dog an MRI from the?
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. I definitely want to see her proper. Hopefully afterwards the surgery isn't too pricey so that it can just be something that I can get done and she can be healing and recovering.
Well, let's wish you luck and wish your puppy luck. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Harvey?
Look, I just wish the plaintiff would have asked for punitive damages here, because you are allowed punitive damages if you can prove fraud, oppression, or malice. And if this ain't malice, I don't know what is.
I have a dachshund and am always worried about taking her on walks. How do you protect your dog from an unleashed dog? There have been times when an unleashed big dog is charged towards my dog.
If you have a dachshund and a dog is charging towards your dog, I guess you could bend down and pick it up because it probably weighs no more than a loaf of bread. They're pretty small dogs, right? But if you had a bigger dog, you've got bigger problems. If it's a small dog that's approaching and rushing towards you, picking up your dog is probably going to protect it if it's something you can pick up. If it's a big dog, you have to get a little more creative, I'd say. You have to think
and
about...
you could potentially be attacked as well.
Right. You can carry things with you that will protect you from a dog attack, and some people do. I mean, if you carry pepper spray, that'll probably
in
deter...
those places where pepper spray is legal.
Right. And in some...
Or anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah,
right.
exactly. And you could carry a baton, a collapsible baton like the police use, and really whack an animal and deter it, probably.
From hurting your animal.
From hurting your animal, right? And in some neighborhoods, your dog is going to get shot if it's not on a leash and it's rushing towards another dog.
Right.
I guarantee you that.
And it will be a legal...
It'll be a legal shooting. Chances are, right?
Now, if you know that there's a dog in the neighborhood that's always getting out, then that dog is the threat. Then you call animal control over and over and over, and you make sure that something is done about that. I'm always nervous when I walk my dog. Be just aware.
Right.
I try to walk my dog at times when other people aren't walking their dogs, but be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely.
This is the plaintiff, Latrina Jones. She says she brought her car to the defendants for a new alternator, and he totally took advantage of her and ripped her off. That's right. He said he put a new part in, but didn't, and she's suing for the return of her $716.83. This is the defendant, Joshua Thomas. He says he put a new alternator in the plaintiff's car. She complained she was still having problems. He told her to bring the car in, and she refused. He tried working through this issue with the plaintiff numerous times. She's a pretty stubborn person, and he's happy to be here where the judge can settle things once and for all. He's accused of a shoddy repair.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that the defendant is trying to royally rip her off after taking her car into the defendant's shop for repairs. But the defendant says the plaintiff's car has numerous issues. She refuses to work with him or pay him extra to fix it, so he owes her zero. It's the case of hoop-de-doo, you're getting sued.
Ms. Jones.
You're welcome.
All right. Ms. Jones, you are suing the defendant's company, represented here by Mr. Thomas?
That's right, ma'am.
Okay. For $716.83 that you say you are due because they did a shoddy job.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you find the company the defendant works for?
Well, I actually had took my car to that particular location previously. It had a previous owner, but I didn't know that they had a new ownership.
Okay. So you take it there. Is it close by your house or something?
It's a block away from my home.
Oh, well, okay. So you take it there and what happens?
I take it there. Prior to me taking there, I had called them and asked them and got a quote on the alternator price.
Okay.
I had my boyfriend take the car, and he dropped the car off for the alternator repair and told them, that's what we were dropping it off for. They did the so-called work on the first repair, which was totally not what I asked them to do. But when I picked up the car, I didn't know that that's what they did. Well, I knew that's what they did, but I didn't know that they didn't do what I asked them to do.
What did they do?
On the repair note, it says that they did replace the fuse, properly charged and tightened, protected, battery terminals, checked voltage again, road tested, and rechecked the
Okay,
voltage.
so what they did was,
repeat.
rather than replace your alternator, they thought that they had it handled at a cheaper rate to you, because what they charged you that first time was $225.60, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so they thought they had fixed the problem, but you take the car and you start having problems again. What are the problems that you have?
The same problems I had before, where the lights were flickering, my car would not gain momentum for me to, drive it.
Okay, so you bring it back to them, right? And what do they
I called
do?
them the very next day and told them it was having the same problem, and I take it back to them for the second time.
Okay, and they then do what?
He thought it was some wire issue.
Okay, this was a 2011 Nissan Maxima?
Correct.
Okay, what is your understanding of what they had done? They put in a new alternator?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you pay for a new alternator, you drive off, and what happens?
I continue to drive the car. I use the Maxima to drive to work approximately 4 miles back and forth. So I did not have an issue until around November 3rd.
Okay.
I called him and said that I was still having the same issues, where actually when I went out to start my car that morning, my car had stopped. It cut off. By the time I get out there after it was warming up, it cut off. And so I called him. I told him the same problem was still going on. So he told me to bring the car back. And at that point, I told him I wasn't bringing the car back for a fourth time.
Well, that would be a third time, not a fourth time, right?
I apologize. It is the third time.
Yeah, no, I got it. Don't worry. So then you take it to a friend of yours.
I take it to a friend of mine that I had went to high school with. He was a mechanic coming out of high school, and I purchased a whole new alternator. He put the alternator in. I towed the car to him on November the 15th. I had the car returned back to me by November the 19th with no problem.
So let me hear from you, Mr. Thomas.
Yes, ma'am. So she's correct. I received the car 8/24. She was complaining of the car stalling out, lights coming on, etc. We went through to do a diagnostics on the electrical system. We check over standard procedures, battery cables, looking for corrosion, all that. Found some discrepancies and stuff going on there, checking voltage, intermittent voltage, corrected everything, road tested it, and found for everything to be okay. Called the customer and let her know the vehicle was ready. Obviously, we would be in bad shape if we took every customer's own diagnosis on their issue.
Sure.
What I like to do is look at them myself.
No, I
save
applaud
my
the fact
customer
that
in the
you were
long
saving her money and trying this out and seeing if it worked, and sometimes it will, and you save her half of the money. I think that's great. But she still has a problem, and she has to pay the guy to fix the problem, this other person. So she's mad about being out that money, and she wants you guys, she wants her cake and she wants to eat it too. She actually wants the money she paid you and the money she paid him, so she doesn't have to pay anything for an alternator. On what planet, Ms. Jones, would that be appropriate?
Well, I consider that he completely wasted my time. What mechanic do
Okay,
you know
the answer is no. This is a breach of contract case. You don't get the work done for free. Court is about putting you in the position you would have been in before the bad thing happened, not putting you in a better position than you were in. So, Mr. Thomas, explain to me, she had to pay this other guy, so tell me why it's fair that, you guys, why? Because you offered to do it again? Maybe she doesn't want to take it to you a third time.
Well, here's the thing. We stand behind any and everything we do. So when you're dealing with electrical diagnostics, yes, some of it, I can find out what's wrong with it in 5-10 minutes. Some of it, it might take me 10 days. That's just how it is in this business. I've done this for 20 years. The thing is, when she was finally mad at me to the point where she did not want to bring the car back, and she requested her money, I said, if you bring me the alternator back that I purchased new, I will refund you that money. That way I can take that alternator, I can return it to my parts supplier, and I get my money back.
Right. Why didn't you
So
do
I
that?
offered to
Where's
refund
the
the money.
alternator that he put in? Did you ever return it to
I
them?
still have the alternator.
You have
I
it?
still have the alternator.
Okay.
But who's to say if it was new? If it couldn't have been new. If
No,
my
we're
car
not
wasn't
talking
working
about
when I
that. I'm
took it to
asking
the
you if you
second-
have the alternator he put in, and your answer is yes. In order to get this problem fixed, you had to buy a new alternator to the tune
Yes.
of $256.55, and you had to pay your friend $180.
Yes.
That means you are out $436.55. That's the extra amount of money you had to pay in order to get your problem fixed. I am going to order you, the defendants, to refund you $436.55 upon your return of the alternator. That way they can recoup some of their losses too, because they had to go through a lot to get to this spot, and you didn't really give them a chance to fix it again, which I get. I wouldn't want to bring it back either. So we'll make some arrangements with Officer McIntosh for the return of the alternator, and that's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, you seem like a pretty upright guy. If she gives you back the alternator, will you be okay? You think that's okay?
Yes, absolutely. I tried to do this in the beginning. Bring the alternator back that we paid for, that was new. And, she would have been okay. But we can do it this way. That's completely fine.
All right. Ms. Jones, you heard what the judge ordered. You got to give that alternator back in order to get that, that sum of that $430-some back. Okay?
I will. I think he's
Okay.
using used parts.
No, he says it's brand new.
It wasn't brand new.
Well, he said it is. What can I tell you?
I can't tell. If it was a brand new part, I shouldn't have had to go buy a whole nother part.
Well, that's your opinion. Anyway, that'll bring this case to a close. You will get some money back, and that's the way it ends, all right?
Okay. Thank you.
Harvey, what's your opinion on this case?
So, Doug, this is a case where judges have a lot of discretion. Do you send the plaintiff back to the place that did wrong by her, or can the plaintiff find a different auto repair shop to put the alternator in? The judge here felt the latter should prevail.
Marilyn, how old are your 3 daughters, and are you excited for grandchildren in the future?
Our kids are 25, 24, and 19.
Better not get that wrong, right?
I know. Sometimes it gets blurry. And am I excited about grandkids? Not right. I'm excited about the theory about grandkids.
Right. But
I love the
like
idea.
we really haven't finished with these ones?
I have not finished. These things are half-baked.
We're in the middle of it still.
I'm in the middle of baking. I can't,
They're not quite done.
No, Lord, no.
Right,
Lord,
right.
no.
But, my brother has 4 and one more on the way. My oldest brother, right?
And he's just...
Oh, my God. He's head over heels. He says there's nothing like it. And I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. I look at it kind of like, your kids, when they're little, they're like kittens and puppies. They're really fun, right? And then they grow up into kind of ornery cats and dogs, big things, right? And they're not quite as joyful every minute.
Right. But they're at a great age now, and I'm enjoying it. And, you have to watch out not to always be looking in the horizon and being present and enjoying the moment.
Absolutely. But, wouldn't it be good to have kittens and puppies? Who doesn't
got an
love
idea?
kittens?
How about if we just get kittens and puppies?
Yeah, you know what? Probably be lower maintenance in the long run.